Checking out my garden. Did a lot of squash this year. Now it depends what you mean by a lot. For me, it'll be enough. Yellow squash over here, zucchini. Got green beans down through here. Pepper plants. Everything was late this year. Got an early or late start in June. But I think in some ways that's advantageous because I miss a lot of the early spring weed stuff that goes on. And I tilled this up early June, and now, you know, things are growing like crazy. We've had some decent rain. Got some radishes in there, amidst some weeds. Tomatoes, I have about 20 tomato plants, some really large beefsteaks that eventually will, you know, this cage will be completely full, usually grow about 6 feet tall. These are starting to grow through their growth spurt right now. I got cucumbers in here, and then these are some small pepper plants that are really just starting out. Everything here I planted by seed, the entire garden. Neighbor's dog. Hunter, no, please don't do that. Neighbor has a German Shepherd and a little, I call it a hot dog because it looks like a little wiener dog running around. But it always likes to challenge my dog out here. But just going through here, I didn't get as much in as I wanted, but the bottom line is I got enough. I got enough here to where I can make some dill pickles. And if we had more of the season ahead of us, I would probably do a replant on the squash. Tomatoes definitely will come around. I'm figuring maybe at the end of August, I'll get a good harvest in. Had a groundhog problem in here about 3 weeks ago, and I set a box trap in here. But other than that, I mean, it's not perfect. When I wasn't living around here, the vineyard area, I had like a 24 plant vineyard that grown over because there's an abandoned house back in the woods here, and the neighbor ever cuts his grass, never comes here. He just bought the property and let it sit. So it's a big issue. When I wasn't here, all those weeds decided to come over onto my trellis because I was living in another state for 4 years. Anyway, this garden I think will do well. It's not perfect, but it's definitely enough to where I think I'm going to get a pretty decent harvest. Hoping I can freeze some of this squash throughout the fall and the winter time if I get enough. May plant a second crop of squash, but we'll see how that goes. I did plant some watermelon and cantaloupe over here, and those are starting to bloom out right now. These are the cantaloupe. Watermelon over here, not really a whole lot. Normally years ago I would put in triple the size of this, but just didn't have the time. Been extremely busy this year, but I am grateful for what I have. I like these cages. I highly recommend them if you like growing tomatoes like I do. Get these really sturdy cages. You can use them over and over and over again. Again, these tomato plants will probably be 5 feet tall by the time it's said and done. Usually get a decent harvest, but it's just going to be a later one this year. And like I said, I think that's a good thing because I skipped a lot of the weeds that the early mid-spring would have caused. I see my squash starting to come on down here. Those are zucchinis. And as long as I can keep the rabbits and the groundhogs out of here, everything should be good. I'm using this barrier to keep some of them out of here. That was from an old greenhouse I used to have. Had a windstorm probably 4 years ago, and it knocked it down. So I was like, what am I going to do with all this, you know, polycarbonate panels? And eventually I just hung on to them and used them as a barrier for my garden here. Anyway, more tomato plants back there. Hope your garden's doing well if you have one. Enjoy the rest of your summer. Take your trips, spend time with your family, spend time with the Most High. If you're a believer, if not, He believes in you. Take care.